After the sad incident of losing his wife, the elderly Carl has decided to live alone. He doesn't have any kids either, but someone is still there to accompany him. It's Carl's loyal dog, Doug, a little overweight golden retriever. But that doesn't stop Doug from exploring the adventures of everyday life and being the good and playful dog he is. Moreover, he has a special collar that converts his thoughts into speech and enables him to talk to humans. After a hard search, Carl has finally bought the perfect house for him and his dog. While living their lives in peace, Doug enjoys every day of his life while tackling every little obstacle he faces. His morning starts quite early, and when he's awake, he doesn't let anyone else sleep. After breakfast, Carl goes out on the lawn to work on a new project. He orders Doug not to disturb him, but the naughty dog can't follow instructions for more than a few minutes. He sneaks onto the lawn and keeps bringing random stuff to Carl. Doug wants to help, but in fact, he's only making things difficult for his owner. Despite that, Carl still finishes his project. It's a wooden bird feeder. After setting it up, Carl takes a nap and tells Doug to keep on guard. The sun is shining brightly and it's getting really hot. Doug feels sorry for his master and puts a cover on Carl. The silly dog is feeling really proud of himself. He's also keeping a keen eye on the bird feeder, but someone's here to tease him. It's a squirrel. It steals away in a flash and runs back to its nest before Doug can catch it. Doug tries his best to keep the squirrel away, but it's too cunning to defeat. The squirrel keeps taking rounds and fills up his tree hole. The greedy squirrel jumps on the feeder again to get more. Doug runs to catch him but hits the feeder instead. This causes all the seeds to spill on the ground. A bird comes looking for food, but there's nothing left for it in the feeder. Doug doesn't want to trouble his master and goes in to bring the seed bag by himself. The naughty squirrel sneaks into the bag and eats away all the seeds. Doug rushes to catch it and even climbs up the tree, but his chubby self falls along with the tree branch. It breaks the entrance of the tree hole and all the seeds fall down the drain. Doug is angry at the squirrel, but he also feels sorry for it as it lost all of its hard-earned food. The kind-hearted Doug gives to the squirrel a jar of peanut butter so it doesn't starve. Carl wakes up and he's not happy to see the mess. However, his anger subsides on seeing Doug's innocent face. The sweet dog just wanted to help, but it didn't go as planned. The next day starts with a doorbell, and Doug rushes to see who it is. He's always this excited to meet new people. This time it's their neighbor who comes to drop her puppies. She'll be busy till the evening and needs someone to look after her pets. Doug gets really delighted on seeing the 5 cute puppies sleeping peacefully in the cardboard box. Carl takes the box to the backyard and advises Doug to look after the puppies. The sweet dog runs around the box to wake up the little fellows. He wants to play with them as soon as possible. The puppies jump out of the box and cuddle with Doug. After the warm welcome, Doug gets ready to play. He engages the puppies in racing and hide-and-seek. Regardless of their size, the puppies run really fast and catch up with Doug in no time. They start cuddling again. At first, Doug likes the sweet gesture, but then the puppies start to bite him with their little teeth. Luckily, Carl comes over at the right time and calls to the puppies for lunch. Doug also rushes to his bowl, but the puppies eat up his portion as well. They even steal his treats. Now, Doug has started to get a little angry, but then he sees the puppies taking a nap. The cute sight washed away all his anger. Doug tries to stay quiet, but he accidentally steps on a squishy toy. The puppies wake immediately and their eyes are on the bright-colored toys. Doug warns them not to touch his valuable toys, but the puppies won't listen and bite off the toys in no time. Doug could only save one of them. He builds a wall between himself and the puppies so they couldn't get to his last toy. The backyard looks like a small battlefield. Suddenly, a squirrel jumps in out of nowhere. Doug thought the puppies will bite the squirrel too, but the naughty little puppies are actually afraid of it. Doug feels sorry for them and decides to teach them some self-defense. The puppies learn really quickly. Their continuous bark scares away the squirrel. Afterward, they play with Doug again till the evening sets in. The neighbor comes over to pick up the puppies, and it makes the poor dog gloomy. He says goodbye to his cute friends and gives them his last toy. He's definitely the sweetest dog ever. With Doug by his side, Carl's time flew away quickly. It's the town's anniversary, and the whole neighborhood is celebrating. This reminds Carl of her lovely wife with whom he used to sing country songs. She may no longer be by his side, but Doug has never let Carl feel lonely. He doesn't know the lyrics, but he still tries to sing with Carl. They stay in the backyard to see the special fireworks prepared for this day. Doug gets really excited as he has never seen fireworks before. Just as the first one exploded in the sky, Doug started to panic. He couldn't stand the loud noises and tries to run and hide. In the chaos, he makes a mess around the house and hurts Carl too. After entering the living room, he hits his head and falls unconscious. Doug dreams of all the things he's always desired, like fluffy clouds full of shiny fire plugs, dead squirrels, smelly stuff, and so on. But then, the sweet dreams change into a nightmare. Doug is stuck in a flower field and gets separated from Carl. Thankfully, he wakes up at the right moment. The fireworks haven't ended, and Doug panics again, but Carl finds a solution. He puts headphones on Doug, and the silly and frightened dog can finally watch the fireworks in peace. Like most dogs, Doug is always curious. He can't wait to know more and more every day. This morning, Doug is exploring different fragrances. He smells a new thing and then rushes to tell Carl about it. He has a sharp memory and never forgets something he once smelt. Just while standing at the fence, Doug can recognize what's cooking in the neighborhood or what's passing the streets just by smelling it. He's naming every smell that comes his way, but then a weird scent hits him. Doug can't guess what it is, and he wants to know as soon as possible. He starts digging at the bottom of the fence to make his way out to the street. Carl catches him doing that and warns Doug not to mess around. Like always, it's impossible for Doug to follow orders. Just after a few seconds of Carl leaving, Doug continues his mission. He reaches to the other side of the fence and runs into the street. He keeps following the weird smell, but then he catches another one. It's the smell of fresh hot dogs cooking in the neighborhood. Doug tries to contain himself, but he loses control soon. He picks up a hot dog and devours it immediately. Afterward, he turns back to his mission, but the weird scent is lost. Doug runs around and finally reaches the source. The smell was coming from a small fire. It's steadily growing bigger in time, and Doug must tell this to Carl. He rushes back but loses his color on the way. Doug tries to explain the emergency in different ways, but Carl doesn't get him. There's no time to lose. Doug drags his master to the fire and saves the neighborhood from danger. He gets awarded for being the best dog. This time, he literally saved others like a hero. Doug may seem to be a spoiled pet, but he wasn't always like this. His life changed after meeting Carl. The kind old man takes good care of Doug and grooms him regularly. After getting his nails done, Doug can go out into the backyard to play. They're also having a special guest. It's the scout boy Russell. Doug excitedly greets him and wants to play. Russell loves him too, but he needs to finish his lunch first. Today, he's having a peanut butter sandwich. Doug starts drooling over the yummy scent, but he's too shy to ask Russell for a bite. Suddenly, a squirrel jumps into their yard. Doug rushes to scare it off, but meets a surprise. The squirrel is answering him in a human voice. It's all done by Russell. He's been researching the speech color for days and made it in different sizes. Then he tried it on different animals like birds, snails, and squirrels. Russell is happy to see his experiment running successfully, but Doug isn't impressed. He starts arguing with the squirrel, and their fight becomes more intense as they can understand each other's words. Suddenly, a collared bird lands there too and requests Doug and the squirrel to stay quiet. Its chicks are sleeping in the nearby tree. After observing them for a while, Russell takes his leave, but before that, he gives Doug a peanut butter sandwich. The hungry dog can't be happier. He wants to eat it right away, but there are two more animals to claim the sandwich. Doug refuses to share as it should only belong to him. Hearing that, the squirrel and the bird call him selfish. They believe Doug is just a pet who can never understand the struggles of searching for food every day. His master is responsible for feeding him. On the other hand, the squirrel and the bird live a difficult life in which they must look for food every day. Doug refuses to accept this statement as he knows how it feels to live in the wild. Before Carl found him, Doug also had a struggling life, and that's why he's so kind. After confessing his feelings, Doug let the squirrel and the bird take the sandwich. Meanwhile, Carl and Russell witness this whole incident. They're really proud of Doug. Later that night, Doug feels sad and asks Carl if he's just a pet. Carl smiles at him and tells him the sweetest truth. Doug is not just a pet for him. He's the only companion of Carl who can erase his loneliness and also be his best friend. We may have been born alone and will die alone, but this life is not meant for us to live alone. Everything gets easier if you have someone beside you, even if it's just a naughty dog like Doug.